property and profit everything that's public. They want to commodify and re-commodify everything. Schools, transit, social security, pensions, even water and air, if they can. That's austerity. That's the program that's been launched internationally, as other speakers have already alluded to, and that's what's happening here. Look at the gross increase in inequality, never-widening gulf. It's a giant pump that's sucking value out of the working class and siphoning it directly to the capitalists, to the banks, to the corporations, to the billionaire developers. It's not an accident that Thomas Hop Viola, a vice president of this big private company which contracts and brokers outsource bus service, is brought in for $399,000 as the chief negotiator for management in the BART struggle. That's not an accident. They're going after everything. They're not out to privatize BART right now, but they're out to outsource what they can in bus service, that's for sure, and they're going to do the same thing in mass transit, and they're going to jack up the fare, and when they expand, it's going to be without assessing the developers and corporations that rake in the dough from the soaring property values when BART expands and give nothing back. So there's a $125 million a year operating surplus for BART, but they turn their pockets inside out and say, sorry, no money, we're in deficit. Why? Because they've shuffled it over to the other side of the ledger and say, now we're in debt and we have to raise the fare and there's no money for you, BART workers. Actually, that money ought to be applied to break down the walls. It should be applied to cutting or eliminating fares and to restoring bus service, the cuts of which have affected most, those who can least afford it, the poorest, seniors, disabled, and bus service should be expanded. So that's one concrete thing that ought to be done. If we don't fight this, we see our future. We see our future in Detroit and what they're doing there, and we see our future in Greece and what they're doing there. That's the future they have in mind for us all. Their key weapons in this are divide and conquer, state intervention, and the team concept of binding labor to management, saying that we're all on the same side, the same team. That's the road to hell. Look at what's happened in the private sector. I heard Bob King, president of UAW. What happens when capitalism goes into its periodic crises? Well, then you better sacrifice. And when things turn up, what happens? Sacrifice some more. That's what's happening in BART and AC, right? They said sacrifice in 2009 and 2010. Now they say, sorry, hey, I fooled you, now more. Give up more. Okay, so how do we combat this? Well, first of all, let's look at state intervention. And let's look at how that's happening right now in BART with Jerry Brown coming in with a 60-day cooling off period. It's not just him, though. There's Mark DeSolini, the Democrat from Concord, who wants to ban transit strikes. And it's not just him. Bill Clinton's head of the National Labor Relations Board, William Gould, had an op-ed piece in the LA Times, and then he was on KPFA. Steve invited him and me to debate on this. He wants to ban public transit strikes, but give labor a fair shake through binding arbitration. Now, he's a well-known friend of labor. The labor leadership sees him as their friend, their pal. They almost were orgasmic when Clinton appointed him as the head of the NLRB, and he still gets lavish praise. That's an example of the team concept, looking management, the state, and labor supposedly on the same page. Unfortunately, much of the labor leadership is on that page. We have to be on a different one. So how do we combat this? Well, we have to combat it by fighting together at all levels. First of all, of course, defend the right to strike. We have to stand together and reach out. Solidarity beats concessions. Joint struggle by all transit unions. Break down the barriers. We have BART, we have AC Transit. There's no reason for there not to be joint coordination, joint struggle, joint membership meetings. There are some moves, towards that kind of coordination now. That's going to have to be driven by the rank and file. And the fact that I think there are moves from the rank and file is a major reason why that's starting to happen. Second, we have to make it clear when we reach out to the community that these are not outrageous demands by the AC Transit workers or by the BART workers. These are really just asking to hold the line. The contracts that are being offered are concessionary contracts. If you take inflation into account, you know, Dave Lyons has done calculations which show how much is lost on that. You can do similarly with BART. They say give back again. So we have to say no to shared sacrifice. No to the Bay Area would go out and go out to defend the right to strike and to fight austerity, to say this is a common struggle, we make major strides. We also have to realize, point that's been made, John Ryman made it in the discussion before, I think one or two others have, I think Ethel just made it, it's very important to realize that although BART workers and still less AC transit workers don't earn enough, you know, BART workers earn less than what is needed really for a family of four to be able to get by adequately in the Bay Area. But there are too many workers, the majority of the working class here make less. Many make half or less than half of that. So we have to be able to reach out to them, and to reach out first by explaining that these are reasonable demands to just try to hold the line. Second, that if they're cut, you'll be cut too. But third, by acting concretely in the interests of these workers. It's not enough to just say, you know, join with us, stand with us when, you know, when we're being attacked. It has to be something that goes on and not just under the attack, at the time of attack, and it has to be concrete and tangible steps. So one of them is what I mentioned earlier of cut the fares and also restore robust service, and really look at transit as one, not breaking it up and dividing the way they divide worker from worker. Look at transit as one. And then I think it's really important to, in the campaign against austerity, to reach out, for example, to the fight for the $15 an hour. That's not adequate. That's only $30,000 a year, but it's a big start. So what John Ryman raised before, $15 an hour or a $5 an hour raise, whichever is greater, that's a start. That should be brought up at the barbecues and rallies and so on that are being organized. There should be flyers which make very simple and direct points, just really talking points, not, you know, not long-winded but short talking point flyers, going out in 3s and 4s, organized transit workers with community supporters to go out and talk to riders and others to emphasize this and fight for this.